You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains.
Rossi Bradford, who is the husband there of our wonderful Heather Bradford. I see the two of you there. The time is now yours so that you can join us or start us off with a unity blessing before we do our introductions. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana. Thank you for the opportunity. It's definitely been an emotional time for myself throughout the last few weeks. It just seems like things have been unfolding. And I think this is a great opportunity that you guys have, the professors at Delta have put together to let people voice their feelings and emotions. And a lot of times that's difficult. So I'd just like to quickly go into a prayer. God, look over all of us and cover us with your protection through these troubled times. Please show mercy and grace on us. We do not have all the answers, so we need you right now to guide us through every voice so they can be heard. Help us all to be the light of the world. Help us to come together and heal. Give us the courage to do what is right and to speak up when there is wrong. Let love have the last word. Amen.
Thank you. Next, before we get to this point, I want to have an introduction of unity. So if folks from some of the sister organizations happen to be on the call right now. I know that we have the Dreamer Success Center. I know we have the Pride Center. I know we have other organizations. I would like you to unmute yourself and let us know that you're here. Because again, we stand together in unity, recognizing that this is the way that we solve problems is together. And at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself. And I know we have CTA, Social Justice and Equity Committee, Pathway to Law, EPIC, a number of you. So I will have you go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angelica Flores, and I am here with the Dreamer Success Center.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sergio Lara, here also with my colleague Angelica Flores, representing the Dreamers Success Center and standing in solidarity with the Black and African American community.
Hello, Lorraine Doria. I'm here representing EPIC, and I really wanted to say thank you so much for inviting us here. And that was a lovely prayer. I almost started crying. Thank you. Beautiful words for such a difficult time.
Ricardo Aguilar, representing Delta College and the Social Justice and Equity Committee on campus, and so many other things that I represent. Thank you.
Dr. Alina Sala, and I'm here representing Delta College, students with disabilities, and providing support for all students that have disabilities from all colors, all ethnicities, and all backgrounds. And thank you for this opportunity, for the open forum, for us to come together as a community to support each other in a loving, compassionate, and powerful way.
Thank you. I also see some folks checking in via the chat, so I want to acknowledge that as well. Veronica from MESA, thank you for being here.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lisa Cooper Wilkins, representing Delta College in Student Services, and I'm also a part of a community organization that advances scholarship and education. I'm the president of the Stockton Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Hi everyone, I'm Deborah Louie. I'm representing the Asian Pacific Islander American Staff Association. I want to thank Adriana for inviting us, and I want to thank all of you wonderful people here I see on the screen. It's wonderful to see you and have such a solidarity of support. Thank you. I'm proud to be a part of this group.
Thank you to everyone who's joining us in the chat. We appreciate all of you, that now that we're going so fast that I can't keep up. So please do see that in the chat there. Now at this time, the slide does match. So Professor Ricardo Aguilar, the time is now yours. If you can share with us the poem that you have ready.
Okay, gracias, Adriana. Thank you so much for inviting us and for putting this together. And so I'm gonna start with the poem written by Luis Valdez. Luis Valdez is a Chicano activist and playwright. And so the concept of in la quech, it's a Mayan concept from the Yucatan Peninsula, southern part of Mexico, northern part of Guatemala. And so the Mayans had this concept, especially around that area, which was in la quech, and that was to greet each other. And so I'm gonna read the poem in Spanish and English, and then we continue with that. So the poem goes like this. In la quech, tú eres mi otro yo. You are my other me. Si te hago daño a ti, if I do harm to you, me hago daño a mí mismo. I do harm to myself. Si te amo y respeto, if I love you and respect you, me amo y respeto yo. I love and respect myself. So in la quech, brothers and sisters, to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ricardo Aguilar. It is in that spirit of in la quech that we are all here today. I have invited a local Stocktonian who is an activist, Christopher. I see that you're on the call. Thank you, Christopher. Can you please introduce yourself to the group here? And I apologize for not having a slide ready for Christopher. He and I were literally just in communication over the last 10 minutes or so as we were trying to organize this. So we're honored to have you here, Christopher, to share with us.
Thank you, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, yeah, I would like, she's like Andrea said, we literally the last 5-10 minutes put this together. Wrote a poem when all this first started taking place, and it kind of more so I let God use me in the poem and say what words I should say. I'm not a writer, and it just came out, and it's how I feel, and I'm sure how a lot of us feel. So with that said, I'd like to read my poem and share my poem with you guys. It reads, my skin is thick, my skin is strong, my skin takes the sun in, bringing light into me. My skin can look gold in the winter and onyx in the summer. My skin is caramel or chocolate. My skin makes me unique. My skin shines in the sun. My skin is hard to age. My skin does not make me a criminal. My skin does not mean I am not smart. My skin does not mean I'm lazy. My skin is not meant to scare you. My skin does not make me less than you. My skin should not make me a suspect. My skin does not make me a non-American. My skin is pure. I love my skin. Thank you, guys.
Christopher, thank you for honoring us with your poem.
Thank you.
We're grateful you can be on the call.
Thank you very much.
This is an important time for us to come together and to share. And the next person up is Ayana Williams.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so today we're sharing a quote by Frederick Douglass. It says, "Where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, and where any class is made to feel that society is organized conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade them, neither persons nor property will be safe. So the best way I was able to interpret this quote is like, we have these social and political institutions that, you know, are accountable for some but oppress others, which is why it can easily be applied to what's going on today. You know, it's still very relevant today. We have things like police brutality, like racism is still very prominent in today's society. And basically what Frederick Douglass was saying in this quote is that if everyone isn't protected, then no one is protected. And so that's what we're fighting for with this movement, with the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's so incredibly relevant, especially when it comes to things like mental health, because these people that are tired of seeing this, of going through these struggles and watching other people in their community, you know, innocent people dying for no reason. And we're in the year of 2020 and this is still happening, you know, and people are angry and people are frustrated. And so we are seeing a lot of, you know, violence. We're seeing lots of protests, but it's all, you know, incredibly necessary, just as it is necessary to educate others on the things going on and why they should be supporting it, and why they should be concerned, and why they should be angry too, because it is a big deal, and it's more than just a political issue. You know, it's about civil rights. It's about rights for other people with different skin colors, and especially right now, Black people who are being oppressed every day in the year 2020. And many of us are feeling lots of different emotions about it. Some people are scared to speak up. Some people are scared of what others might say. But at the end of the day, we need to remember that we are all we're all part of the same system, and the system needs to change. And so when Frederick Douglass is saying, when he's saying that, like, if no one's protected, if one group is not protected, then all of us aren't protected, that's exactly what he means.
Thank you, Ayana. Thank you for being here, and we will have Ayana back in the program a little bit later. Thank you for those words, and now we move to Paula Bennett. Paula is going to she has prepared for us a presentation where we honor and say their names. Paula, the time is yours.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Nice to see everyone. But this is it's pretty nice to hear and visit with you all and know that there's so many people that share the same pain. And that is a really exciting feeling, because we could rise above this, but we have to understand each other. Now, the slides are loading up slow, but I read this funny thing, and I'm going to share it with you guys later, because it totally said how I was feeling.
They're up there now. My apologies, Paula. They're up there now. I changed the slide.
Okay, great. That's wonderful, because I was trying to find it. So Adriana wrote to me this morning and said that she'd be honored if I read these names. I was so shocked. There's one that I may mispronounce, so y'all help me out. Eric Garner had just broken up a fight, according to a witness testimony. I was stunned when I read that, because I didn't know that. Ezel Ford was walking in his neighborhood. Michelle help me out with that. Casillas was changing the lock on her home's door when police arrived to take her to a mental health facility. Tanisha Anderson was having a bad mental health episode, and her brother called 911. Tamara Rice was playing in the park. Natasha McKenna was having a psychotic episode when she was tased in Fairfax, Virginia. Walter Scott was going to an auto parts store. Betty Jones answered the door to let Chicago police officers in to help her upstairs neighbor, who had called 911 to resolve a domestic dispute. Orlando Castle was driving home from dinner with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's young daughter. Botan John was eating ice cream in his living room in Dallas. Antoniana Jefferson was babysitting her nephew at home in Fort Worth, Texas. Eric Reason was pulling into a parking spot at a local chicken and fish shop, probably someplace I'd be. But anyway, Dominic Clayton was sleeping in her bed. Breonna Taylor was also sleeping in her bed. And George Floyd was at the grocery store, the corner store. That's their name.
Thank you, Paula. It was very important as we were looking at participants that we sought out an elder in our community to acknowledge that there have been people at this fight for longer than some of us have been alive. And we are grateful that you were able to honor us by being a part of this and saying those names out loud. Next in our presentation, we have Brittany Marquez. And Brittany is a lab tech in radio and television. And Brittany has taken time to produce a video for us. Brittany, the time is yours.
So before we play the video, I just want to say that the first few pictures that you'll see in the video are pictures that I took at the protest that happened in MLK Plaza this past Sunday. And I just want to say that it was absolutely beautiful to be at a protest that was completely 100% peaceful. It has been heartbreaking to see all of the violence and all of the things going on the news. And I am proud of our city for putting on a protest that just speaks of their hurt, but with peace. They didn't do anything violent. And it was just amazing to see a city where it's expected for everybody to be in chaos, for there to be constant riots. And don't get me wrong, I know that things happen at the mall, but this was not associated with that. And it was absolutely incredible. And I want this video to serve as a form of awareness to really raise up those voices even higher. And I am white, I'm also Mexican, I'm also queer, you know, I stand in the gap. I will use any and all privileges that I have to raise their voices, because these are human beings that should not be treated this way, and enough is enough. And I will leave it to that, and we can watch the video now. Thank you.
I said, whether we turn it up or we out here in some peace, we gonna make national headlines. It's power and peace.
But one day, this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Please don't come close to me.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to
And
me.
I'm taking pictures calling the cops.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Please tell them whatever you like.
There is an African-American man. I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Please send the cops immediately.
You're living in a world where so many people are watching this video. So many people are being triggered, because in many ways it was like a gotcha. You know, it was like the curtain had been pulled back. Aha! So you do this because it's always been spoken about, but this was like, it was powerful to see it being used. And I think a lot of people were triggered by that. A lot of people were like, damn, we knew it was real, but this is like real, you know?
Mama, I can't. I cannot breathe. I can't breathe. Please, the name of it.
And so we are in a state of emergency. Black people are dying in a state of emergency. Shutting down because people here in Minnesota are saying to people in New York, to people in California, to people in Memphis, to people all across this nation, enough is enough.
We cannot continue to allow the people to oppress African American community. They don't invest in us. They don't show us the resources. You are convincing, not me. I can't talk to your parent. I can't talk to your grandparent. At some point, you gotta be the voice for the black people in your household. And it has to start today. I love you, my people, and we gonna continue to take what.
Thank you, Brittany. Now to help us process that, we are going to turn the time over to Professor Evan Wade.
It's good to see everyone. I want to thank everyone for who was involved in organizing today's session and for tuning in for today. I definitely want to send remarks to all those who are students. And thank you, Ayanna, for your words on Frederick Douglass dealing with justice. And also thank you, Christopher, as well, too, for the poem you read. Even though you're not a poet per se, sometimes as you pen words that come from the heart, those are the words that are powerful. So thank you for sharing what you shared. For those who don't know me, my name is Evan Wade. I chair the history department here at Delta. I also coordinate a new program on campus called Social Justice Studies. It's a brand new major as of last year that some of you guys may be interested in joining. And there's an intro class this summertime, as well as next school year, we'll be teaching Intro to Social Justice Studies. And that class walks you through how to become an activist, agent of change. As we recognize that there are oppressions in the world, what can we do to make some change? As we come today, I recognize there's different feelings that you've been going through over this past week. We've had feelings of hurt, of shame, feelings of shock, despair, feelings of trauma coming back. As we looked at this video of an innocent Black father, we're reminded sometimes of stories of some police injustice that happened to our own bodies or happened to people that we know in our own neighborhoods, in our own communities, in our own families. And so literally across this country, we're processing through all these different feelings. And as we're going through these feelings, we have to recognize, and it's disappointing to recognize, that we have some government officials who do not get what we're going through, who do not have the same experiences and feelings that we're going through. And so where they're seeing us outside, they want to say we need to have law and order. And it's quite ironic because a couple of weeks back, when we look at many state capitals across our country, we had predominantly European American men and women, adults, who were outside with AK-47s, and they were seen as not being threatful to the environment itself. But as soon as you have a multicultural crowd that has a lot of Black and brown faces, we are misbranded in a stereotypical way. And so questions come up, when does it stop? Dr. King, one of his last major books, he asked a question in the book title. That book title was called Chaos or Community, Where Do We Go From Here? And that's a question that's posed today. Where do we actually go? And for all of you guys who are students, I want to really emphasize that you guys have a voice in the midst of what we're going through right now. Some of you guys may be questioning, what can I do when it comes to change? Will my protests work? If I form an organization, join an organization, would that work to create change? The answer is yes. when it comes to making change, sometimes we like to make excuses. I can't necessarily make change because I'm young. I can't make change because I'm in college. I can't make change because I have to worry about my family or a job. But I want to give you some details about folks of the past who helped to make change and how old they were when they began to make change. Dr. King, when he became the leader of the Montgomery bus boycott, he was 26 years old. 26. Diane Nash, who was a college student at Fisk, when she began to organize the Nashville sit-ins for a whole entire city, when she began to organize, she was 22. John Lewis, who was a congressman today, when he was speaking at the March on Washington, he was 23 years old. He began to do sit-ins when he was 20. When we look at Delta's most famous alum, Dolores Huerta, she was a little bit older when she started. She was 30 when she began. And she joined a 35-year-old, Cesar Chavez. But these individuals who are young people in college or recently finishing college literally stood up, organized, and transformed our country. When we look at, and what's comforting today is when we look at Stockton downtown, Sacramento downtown, we look at Oakland and San Francisco, it's many of you guys who are younger, who are out there, along with some of us older folks, who are standing up and making change. And so your voice, recognize this, in the midst of what you're going through, your voice counts. And your voice, as you speak it, as you organize around it, it can make fundamental change within our country. The civil rights movement was organized by young people. Sometimes we look at black and white TV, we think of older people of the past. They look like a long time ago. But literally folks who were young stood up with their voices and mobilized for change. Now, as you mobilize for change, recognize this. Everyone will not understand your story. Everyone will not understand your story. There's folks who will be seeing you organizing, and they're asking, why are you doing what you're doing? There's folks in the media who are going to misbrand what you're doing. You're outside, you're non-violently protesting, and you're all of a sudden, you're labeled as a looter, as someone creating a riot, as someone who's unpatriotic. And if you ever hear that you're being unpatriotic, recognize this. Colin Kaepernick was called unpatriotic, but yet he stood on his principles. When we look at Malcolm X, Dr. King, Dolores Huerta, Cesar Chavez, they were called unpatriotic, but they stood nevertheless on their principles. And so in the midst of what has happened, the unfair taking of a father, taken away from a 6-year-old girl, we can't bring this individual back. We can't bring a Trayvon Martin back. We cannot bring an Eric Gardner back. We cannot bring Sandra Bland back. But what we can do is utilize their stories, their narratives, and make it a call for social justice. Their deaths, we can make sure is not in vain. And so I encourage everyone to take these feelings that you have and turn these feelings to actions. And as you, as a young person, turn these feelings to actions, you can make a fundamental change in our country. Is America right now perfect? No. But you can make it better for your children and your grandchildren. And so I want you to keep that in mind. As you are going through what you're going through, recognize the faculty and staff at Delta. We're here to support you. You have my email right on your screen. Feel free to email me throughout the summer or in the fall semester. Your other professors as well to reach out to us. We're here to we're aiming to support you as you're going through your organizing, as you're going through ideas of what can you do. All right, and so with that, I want to turn it back over to Professor Braga.
Thank you, Professor Wade. Thank you for sharing that message with us, and incredibly powerful. Thank you for this. Next up in our presentation is a personal perspective with James Forte. James, the time is yours.
Thank you. As stated, my name is James Forte. I'm with Delta College, and I am one of the success coaches, as well as the AAEC president. And this, I thank you, Adriana, for inviting me to this forum and with Active Minds. And as you know from our conversation earlier this week, this is kind of what promoted me to, sharing my feelings. And my feelings, is being expressed by a lot of ones. So so just going from the very top, having Rossi pray for us over this situation that's going on, to Christopher's poem, My Skin, to the video by Brittany and Evan, your awesome speech speaks volumes. So on the personal level for me, and this is how it kind of started, Monday morning, I just felt so numb. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to express myself. All I was just drenched in my own emotions and feelings. And so when I had replied to Adriana and to my dean that how I was feeling, it was definitely sort of disturbing to know what was going on across the nation, in our state and in our own backyards. As a Black man, for me, it's becoming more of a struggle just to be in my own skin without being targeted as a suspect, generalized, or stereotyped instead of being treated as a human being. Now, this conjures up some deep emotions that I had thought I had put away many years ago. Feeling very traumatized about even going 25 miles out of my radius. And 100 miles was the maximum because I was fearful of the unknown. When this situation started taking place with George Floyd and with the gentleman who was in the park, and just the countless amount of reports we've been hearing nationwide about people, Black men in particular, being victimized, due to police brutality. It just triggered this fear again that I can't even go out my own house without being scrutinized or generalized that, hey, there's a Black man, what is he doing in this neighborhood? Why is he going to rob the store? Or why is he driving that car? All those thoughts came to mind. And so when George Floyd, as we all saw from the video, I can't breathe, he spoke for everyone, for every human who has ever been victimized by prejudice, racism, injustice, mental illness, ones who have been misdiagnosed, misunderstood, and silenced by being just who you are. He spoke for everybody when he said he couldn't breathe. And now we are a world where we're just trying to catch our breath. And so for me, and I share this with everyone, be strong, be united in your efforts of finding social justice. And as Evan mentioned, young ones who are watching, you are the voices. You are now the new voice for George Floyd and the many countless of others who have been victimized. and maybe you yourself, have been victimized for whatever reason, just being the color of your skin. So from this personal perspective, I share with you, be safe, show love, and we'll get through this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, James. Thank you, James, for sharing your perspective with us. And now we are going to circle back to Rossi Bradford, who also will be sharing a personal perspective.
Thank you, Adriana. I was feeling very similar to James, and I just wrote down a few things last night, probably started at around 1 a.m. I just couldn't sleep. It's just
take your time. It's okay.
It's just really difficult to see this injustice. So I wrote, I want this opportunity to say a couple things that are on my heart. I want to thank everyone who is taking the time out of their day in support, getting informed, wanting to be heard, and wanting to be understood today. I also have family on this call.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate them. Over the last short weeks, there has been a slow breaking of my heart. Senseless deaths and injustice have been moved to the forefront in my life. There is a pain and a hurt inside of me that is affecting my day-to-day. How can we watch innocent people being killed and not be affected? This is not my norm to speak out, but I am a Black man hurting, and I have emotions that need to be let out.
Mm-hmm.
This is all traumatizing and leaves me powerless. However, today, I hope we all can gain some power in trying to help one another, listen to one another, and seek additional help through resources provided at the end of this meeting. We all need to look at ourselves honestly and to be that positive change, be that change that is needed. It is not pretty and it is very hard. I pray we all can get to a level of understanding that surpasses a person's skin color. We can try and we can try to know the person. That's pretty much what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Rossi, thank you for sharing with us. Next in our program, we are going to introduce Professor Annalisa Lagruda. Anna is a psychology professor here on campus and is also one of the co-advisors to Active Minds, and has worked for decades in behavioral and mental health, and we appreciate what she's going to be sharing with us. Anna?
Hi, everyone. Hopefully my internet's acting up. I keep getting this message saying that I have a weak internet. And sorry for my voice. I have really bad asthma now. So as Professor Broger was telling you, I had worked for San Joaquin County Behavioral Health Services for 22 years. And I worked with a very difficult population. And those were usually individuals that were coming out of either our youth authority, out of state foster placements. And many of them were young males of color that were struggling from a very young age with either symptoms of schizophrenia or symptoms of bipolar, which still give you the psychotic symptoms. And so many of those I worked with in helping them try to find their new path to life without the support systems that were in place, and being released at a very young age, 18 years old, with no skills, no money to be able to support themselves. And so in helping them find their way, and also finding that treatment can help them be able to manage in life. But they also struggled because of the color of their skin, and because they also were seen as different because of the symptoms of their mental illness. So they kind of had a double struggle there and things. But I always left my door open for them to come in, as I do with my students on campus. I always keep my door open and ask them to come in, sit with me, talk with me, and find out what we actually have in common, and to hopefully break a lot of barriers with students. So some of the active steps that are really necessary for all of us, as whether we're students on Delta College campuses, professors on campus, whether we're faculty, support services on campus, we actually have to have a conversation with the individuals that we serve on campus. We really need to listen to them. And I know a lot of times it can be scary to have somebody, I'm not that tall, and so sometimes having a student that may be, 6'1" compared to my 5'1" on a good hair day, and is getting very loud and somewhat angry, but not angry, it's mostly fear, can sometimes be intimidating. But if you just sit back and just listen to what they have to say, you can actually realize that what they're saying is they have fear of what's happening, whether it be a class or in their studies. So it's really important for us to just really listen to what they're saying, and not at the volume of their voice, but listen to the words that they're saying and the emotions that are behind them. We also need to reflect back. As we're listening to them, we really need to reflect back to them. It sounds like you're really scared, or it sounds like you're really feeling anxious about this test coming up, or it sounds like you may be a little disappointed that you didn't do so well on a paper or a test. Let's see what we can do differently to make you become successful on the next test, on the next paper. When we talk with individuals, really look at, if they're coming to you, reach out. If someone's not talking to you and they sit next to you in class, or you see them in class and they're just there, but not really there, reach out to them, and find out, what is happening. And so when we reflect, we want to reflect, also in breaking the barriers. And so if you're not a person of color, really break the barriers and talk to individuals that you may have not had an interest in talking to. And Black, Hispanic, find out. And you'll mostly realize that you have much more in common than you actually didn't realize and things. So you want to really educate yourself as a professor, as a counselor, faculty, is to educate yourself, read and understand the concepts of anti-racism. Or listen to some podcasts, articles, books, and more. I know when we were on campus, we have the opportunity to go to a lot of flex trainings or workshops, and many of them that I've attended, I was able to get books from those. And a few of the books, we have a list of books here on this slide here, but I circled some of the books that I've read because they were given to me at these workshops. And one of them, Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria, and Other Conversations About Race. That's a really good book to sit down and if you haven't read any books, that's going to be a really good book to sit down and just read and get started on it. The next book that I found was really helpful for me in getting a different perspective between the world and me. That really helped me understand. I even highlighted and tagged a lot of my pages of that. The other book I enjoyed also reading is I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, and Sister Outside. Those are some of the books that I have read. And now looking at this list, I see there's a few other books I need to actually read so that I can open up my eyes even further. When we talk about other active steps is to be an advocate or an ally. Commit to calling out and challenging racist behaviors, stereotypes, or speeches. Even as a professor, sometimes I hear the little chuckles or I hear the little comments from the back row and things, and I make it a point to make sure I walk down my my rows of students. And so if I hear that, I usually will ask, was there something important that I missed? Only because I think, individuals need to be addressed and know that it's not appropriate if someone is struggling or making comments about the way that somebody is dressed or the color of their skin and things. Also, you can sit down with friends or just support organization and engagement. This book is from
Anna, I didn't hear you at the end. I'm not certain if that was just my connection or you. But we couldn't hear you.
I think it's her connection, Adriana.
Okay. I'm not sure if she's... Okay. All right. Thank you, Anna. We appreciate that. And we appreciate those active steps. Before we move on to the next step with Nicole, I know that in Lakesh, our Social Justice and Equity Committee has a poem that is going to be read. And I have to apologize. I've been doing a number of things as I was preparing, so I don't have who is going to be reading the poem.
You there? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you.
All right. Before I read the poem, I like everybody else, I wanted to just kind of share the hurt and the pain, the frustration, the deep sense of loss for what we witnessed. And those of us that have lived in this country all our lives and most of our lives, we don't see it as some kind of episode on television. We have memories of our own that tell us that it could have been us. And in some cases, we were very clearly, it was some of us, our friends, our fellow classmates that we lost along the way, and our run-ins with the police department, which had no intention of protecting us, Chicanos, brown people. We understand pretty much what it's like, especially if you lived in Valley. And so it was very difficult to kind of witness what we saw there. Is Evan on? Evan?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Do you want to start the poem?
I do not have the poem in front of me.
Okay. Okay. So give me a moment here. The poem is by Leopold Sédar Senghor, and it starts, Dear white brother, when I was born, I was black. When I grew up, I was black. When I am in the sun, I am black. When I am sick, I am black. When I die, I will be black. While you, white man, when you were born, you were pink. When you grew up, you were white. When you go in the sun, you are red. When you are cold, you are blue. When you are scared, you are green. When you are sick, you are yellow. When you die, you will be gray. So between you and me, who is the colored man? And that is the poem that I wanted to share. Adriana, I had some closing thoughts too. It feels like we're in this rapacious episodial motion picture from the turn of the last century. It's as though every time we don't know what the plot is, but we know what the plot is. We know who the antagonist is. The antagonist is hate, oppression, and violence. The question is, what role will we play? Or do we keep rewinding and replaying the same rapacious movie? So I keep hearing the pleading voice of George Floyd saying, I can't breathe. Please, I can't breathe. Let me stand. Let me stand. The question to us when we are going, the real question to us, I think, is, are we going to stand? And many of us, it's time. And it's really up to the young generation, because I think my generation has made a mess of it. So my hope is with a lot of people that I see on this Zoom and I see on television. And that's where the hope and my spirit really is on this day. Thank you, Adriana.
Thank you, Mario. Next, we have Professor of Communications, Nicole Sandoval. Nicole, time is now yours.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming. We really appreciate you sharing and your voices being heard here today. Really powerful perspectives and just very emotional and touching, I think, for all of us. And so we want to offer you some resources as we continue here. We have a few of them for you. So Black Mental Wellness is an organization that was started with 4 Black women who are clinical psychologists out of Washington, D.C. And they focus their mental health and behavioral health topics to the Black perspective. So, so mental health issues that are prevalent and unique to the experience of Black people is what this group focuses on. They have several resources. If you go to their website, several resources. They have lots of coping strategies, which seemed very helpful. They can lead workshops, and also they do training opportunities, particularly for undergraduate and graduate college students who are in mental health, behavioral psychology. They have internships and whatnot at Black Mental Wellness. Our second resource here is the Crisis Text Line. This is a free 24/7 text line for folks to use all around the world. You just have to dial the numbers here. You will be connected to a trained crisis counselor. They are working on Spanish right now, and also working on 4 other additional languages for the service to conduct itself in. If we could switch the slide, Adriana. The Movement Presents Real Men Talk is a reoccurring event for Black men in the community. It is put on by the Soul Collective, which is an artist and culture collective based out of Sacramento. The mission is their mission is to provide artistic, cultural, educational programming to promote social justice, to empower marginalized and underserved communities of color at this location. They have several events. This is one that's reoccurring. You can rent art space here. You can do, I believe you can do podcasts here. So it's like a artistic art and culture center, right? Based in Sacramento for marginalized and underserved people of color. And then lastly, we have DRK Beauty, which is a digital community to celebrate women of color and their diversity. Overall, this source is really focusing on self-care and wellness. And right now, this is a brand new initiative where they just started in May, where they're raising 10,000 hours of free therapy for women of color. So they're asking clinicians to offer X amount of hours of free therapy, right, to donate pro bono. And for folks who would like therapy can sign up and receive that for free. And you would do that just right here at this website, where they will connect you with somebody who is offering the pro bono therapy. There's lots of other wellness, self-care on this website, lots of, on the blog, lots of journeys of wellness from perspectives, different people's perspectives and their journey and what that journey looks like, and resources as well. I would encourage you to go check it out.
Thank you, Nicole, for those resources and for letting us know about what is in the community. If anyone on the call knows of additional resources, please keep in mind that after the video presented by Heather Bradford in just a moment, we are going to open up a sharing circle. And at that time, we encourage you to share any other additional resources or more that you have for us. All right, next is sharing circle. And sharing circle, we are going to have Ayana Williams and Nena Bush. If you are on, you are welcome to also participate in this part of this. Ayana, can you please get us started?
Okay, yeah. So I personally have a lot of feelings about what's going on, but more than anything, what the one piece of advice or info that I can bring to this conversation is, more than anything, it's so important to educate those around you, whether they're older or younger, about why they should care and why they should speak up. Because I recently had some personal experiences with my own family who just don't seem to care about this issue a lot. And because I live with my white side of my family, I'm half Black, and they don't seem to care. They don't seem to want to say anything. They don't seem to want to speak up. I'm the only white person in my, I'm the only Black person in my family. And I asked them, you know, why don't you care? Why don't you want to say anything? Like, why don't you support me? And they say, well, it's not, basically saying, they basically say it doesn't affect them directly. And I try to, you know, I'm trying to educate them. And, you know, there's not like a lot of support around me. So I want to kind of piggyback off of what Professor LaGuardia said. I want to just really emphasize that it's really important to show support to those around you. And because you don't know who isn't getting that support, you know, and a lot of people around me have made me feel alone with the way I feel about this issue and my passion towards these issues. And, you know, seeing that video of George Floyd, it really like did something to me, you know, because that could have easily been my dad. My dad's a 78-year-old Black man. He's in LA, and I pray every day that he doesn't ever have an encounter with the police, because I feel like I don't know what would happen.
I'll adopt you, Ayanna. You can be my daughter. Rossi and I will be your parents.
Me too.
We love you. You're beautiful. And you have more support around you than you can ever know.
Thank you.
And I can understand what it feels like to be mixed race. I'm mixed raced as well. So I have a white side of my family, but unfortunately they're very woke. So they're very aware, and they're very, you know, they're very much aware of what's going on. I was raised that way, unbiased. I grew up, you know, without any knowledge of skin color. And so, but my feeling is that people look at me and they don't see me as being Black, but I have Black sons. And I'm the mother of Black sons that have had to have some very difficult conversations with my sons, and heartfelt conversations in the last few days, where you're afraid to have your child be out after dark, and you're texting them, asking them to please come home. You're not able to go to sleep at night until you know that they're home safely. I mean, what parent has to think about things like that? So, you know, I understand, and I'm here with you. I think we're all here with you. This has been a very emotional time for all of us. And you know, it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. We all have the same blood, and we all are from the same creator. And you're not alone, Ayanna.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. I'm really trying my best to, like I said, educate the people around me, and just throw out the whole, you know, why should I care, and make them understand why they should care. Why don't you care? Because this is more than just this is not a political issue. Like I said before, this is about human rights. This isn't about you. This isn't about one particular person. This is about the people around you. And if you care about them, either you care about them or you don't. And I just want to understand why those people, you know, they don't care. And I want to educate those people so that they do care, because we're all human. And I think there's so much more to this than people know. And that being said, I really encourage everyone to just speak out if they can, you know, if they can get the words together, speak out about, you know, what you are passionate about, what you believe in. And, you know, don't let people tell you that you're wrong. That's all I have. But I would love for someone else to share.
Thank you, Ayanna. The floor is now open to every participant to share. This is our sharing circle, so please feel free to unmute yourself and share whatever you would like with the group.
So I got my internet back. I had to move places. But I also put up on the chat, it's the Black Awareness Community Outreach, which is here in San Joaquin County, actually located in Stockton over on El Dorado Street. And so they provide mental health services, counseling, outpatient services, group therapy also for those that are people of color, also for the LGBTQI community too. You know, you want to have something that's local or something that's somewhat a little face-to-face or more intimate, the Black Awareness Community Outreach Program is available here in Stockton.
I guess this might be a really good time since we're talking about resources. I'm really excited because I, like James Forte, I had a little bit of a delay because I was off on Monday. And so I didn't really look at my email from work on Monday, and I wasn't really in the loop of all the conversations that had been taking place. But I woke up on Tuesday morning and I actually got up early because I had just a heavy heart. I didn't sleep well that night before because I just kept thinking, I need to do something. I need to do something. I don't know what it is. So I got up and I had my morning devotion and I prayed about it. And I just am like, please lead me, guide me to what I can do. I feel that I'm just one person, but within my sphere of influence or with my opportunities that I have, with the resources that I'm aware of, what can I do? And soon enough as I got on my email, I saw that Adriana was already in the midst of organizing today's Active Mind session. My colleague, Nicole Sandoval, and Annalisa Lagruda, they were all busy talking about organizing this event today. I actually reached out to a friend of mine who's a therapist in Stockton. I'm not going to mention her name yet to you, but it's somebody that you may know well. She is someone who was able to make Stockton a trauma-informed city. She has a strong background in clinical counseling and works with trauma, is her specialty of her practice. And she has agreed to contract services with Delta College to provide a series of 12 Saturday morning support groups that we'll be calling Saturday Soul Circles. And those will be beginning as soon as we can get those started, hopefully even by this coming Saturday. So I just look forward for you to check the Delta College website, particularly the health and wellness website. Also Active Minds will have announcements about that. And those 90-minute support group meetings will be run by this individual that we're going to be contracting with for the sole purpose of being able to help heal some of this trauma that we're going through. And so I'm very happy and pleased that Dr. Lisa Cooper Wilkins has already authorized and given approval of this, and we will be getting this going as soon as we possibly can.
Thank you, Heather. That is very exciting for the community, for all of us. I want to acknowledge Paula, who has her hand up here. Paula, thank you for using that function in this communication. So now for our sharing circle, Paula, the time is yours. And for anyone else who would like to share, oh, Janet, okay, you're going to be after Paula.
Hello again. Young lady, I misspelled your name and I don't want to mispronounce your name, but dog, God got you. You know, don't entertain petty. If they don't want to talk about it, use some of these resources and talk to people who are intelligent enough to understand how you're feeling. And while we're here on all of this mental health, Adriana, I wanted to share my screen. I thought it would be fun too. I read this article and it just hit me so deep. And because we're talking about mental health and how this is affecting all of us, including the coronavirus, if I could just share my screen, I thought it would be more fun to see the individual who wrote this. Is that
Sure.
fine?
Yeah, go right ahead.
It says I can't share while other participants are sharing.
Okay, just a moment.
Okay, I don't want to disturb you because you got the mojo going today, girl.
All right, go right ahead.
Okay.
Stay asleep at night and I wake up more well.
So anyway, I read this recently. And I want you all to read with while we save ourselves. The video of a white woman threatening a black man in Central Park illustrates exactly why I'm so relieved to be spending more time inside. During a recent session conducted over Zoom, my therapist told me I was alone in the middle of the pandemic. I struggled to explain why until she quoted, no crazy experiences with white people this month? No, that I can immediately recall, I replied. That's when it became clear. I am doing better these days because staying home alone and practicing social distancing has meant I am avoiding many of the racist encounters that used to plague my daily life. And that's by Ernest Owens, the New York Times. It struck me because early in my work career, my godmother said to me I was having a situation at work that was definitely biased, racist. And she said, baby, every day you got to pray, not just for you, but for them. Me, I'm the type of person, I probably would have approached a young person, but not a full-grown Amy Cooper. I'm not out bothering people about what they do. I understand the dynamic, but given regard to you a grown woman and I'm a grown man, that's your dog, I'm going to go over there and watch them birds. And I think this is what is going on with a lot of the dynamics. People want to run things. I just want to feel good. I just want to feel good in my day-to-day life. I want to be respected, and I want to respect other people. So I looked at this gorgeous brother here, and he said he's feeling good. That's all.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you. I want to acknowledge that as we look at these images on the screen today, I want to give credit to our photographer, Heather Bradford, who was out at the demonstration at 10 a.m. today at MLK Plaza here in Stockton. I was really looking forward to being part of that, but I personally couldn't go. She was out there representing Active Minds. So in that bottom picture, there is Heather, and there is her husband, Rossi. And I believe, is that your stepdaughter, Heather?
Yes, that's our daughter, Delaney.
Your daughter, Delaney. Thank you. Thank you.
She came all the way from the Bay Area to be part of this today.
Thank you. So that we know that these are current. These are right off the presses, hot off the presses. Next, I saw that our trustee Janet Rivera has her hand up.
I want to thank all of you. I am so impressed by this open honesty about what has taken place, how devastating it is for all of us, and it just, you ran a. Sometimes I'm lost for words.
Take your time.
I was so touched by all the personal stories, and you have to keep sharing them, because if we don't write it down and we're telling the story, at least we're telling history. And this is a time where I'm tired of talking, and we've got to start walking that talk. And if we can't walk the talk, get off. Go do something else. But we've got to do it. We've got to do it now. We have very little time. Very little time. We can't let this go to sleep. We can't forget. It's a huge wound to see somebody actually die in front of you, and you're screaming, stop, stop. It's not fair. And it's unwanted at Delta College. I can guarantee you that. As long as I'm a trustee there and I'm a community member outside of that, you can guarantee that this is going to stop. This is going to stop. And all of you being involved in listening to our students and listening to our staff in our community, my gosh, this is such a blessing. This is such a blessing. And Ariana, last night I answered your Facebook because I felt so badly that you felt alone. And believe me, my information is on the Delta College website. If you ever need to talk, you want to go out to coffee, you want to scream, you want to cry, you want to laugh, I'll entertain it any day and any time. Thank you all.
Thank you, Trustee Rivera. Marisol.
Hi, everybody. I'm not white, I'm Mexican, but I do want to tell my brothers and sisters who are African American, Black, I love you guys, and I do want to apologize for the way that you continue to be treated. I do want to apologize because this is not supposed to be happening right now. It's not. We are on 2020, and this is still happening. This is not supposed to be done a long time ago. And I feel so angry at this right now. I feel so bad for my Black brothers and sisters. I'm sorry this is still happening. I'm sorry. And I just want to let you guys know that we love you guys and we support you guys. We do. I was at the march today in Stockton, and I felt a little bit, just a little bit of what you guys feel every single day. When the march was starting and we got near the police officers, they weren't doing nothing to us. We weren't doing nothing to them. It was so scary. It felt intimidated. It felt wrong when they were blocking the streets. So we wouldn't walk to the police station, in our streets. They didn't let us walk in our streets. And I'm not bashing the police. I'm not. I'm just saying we have the right to express ourselves. And we can't even do that in our city. That's messed up. I was walking and there was a young lady. And you know, she's African American. And she's looking at us and she's saying, thank you. Thank you for coming and supporting us. And I looked at her and I said, if you are hurting, I'm hurting. If you're good, then I'm good. So we're here. We're in this together. So I want to encourage people, when you see an injustice, speak out, record. If you have your videos, if you have your phones, record it so that there's evidence out there. Advocate for those who cannot. Advocate. And I just want to tell you, you know, all my friends who are African American, I'm with you guys. We're with you guys. We're here. We're here. You are not alone. You're not. We're here for you. And this is going to stop one day. God sees this. He sees everything and he validates everything that's going on. He validates. This is not going just like nobody's watching. He's watching. He's watching. So just stay together, stick together. You guys, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Marisol. Next is Angelica Flores. Angelica?
Thank you, Marisol, and thank you everyone for being here. I'm here speaking on behalf of myself and on behalf of the Dreamer Success Center. And I just want to let y'all know that I stand in solidarity. I identify as Chicana, and I also, yes, we are part of an oppressed folk, but I also want to acknowledge that we will never fully understand what it's like to be Black or African American here in the United States or even throughout the world, because, you know, this is something that happens everywhere. And I first want to acknowledge that we will truly never know. And I also want to, you know, highlight that it is also a reality that there's a lot of, you know, anti-Black sentiments amongst the Latinx community. And I just wanted to state that, to acknowledge that. And I also know that there's a lot of, you know, folks that are in support. And I also want to say that I'm in conversations with Sergio and our team about how the Dreamer Success Center can become better allies. And this is something that we've been talking about in our meetings. And we've also talked about our own privileges and our own biases that maybe we may not know, and how to really check ourselves in language and behaviors, and just know that that's what although it's right, it's uncomfortable, and that's okay, and it's gonna have to be if we want change. So I just really want to, acknowledge all of you that are here, acknowledge the Black and African American community, and just, let you know that we stand in solidarity. And then one thing that I did want to add in it, it's more about looking at ourselves as an institution and then not being afraid comes to these talks on cultural awareness and racism, because we have to admit, right, that there's racism even within our own staff and our own colleagues, and that's just something that we're gonna have to face and work with together. But yeah, I support you. The Dream of Success Center support you.
Paula, I see your hand back up.
Thank you, Adrienne. I just wanted to say one more thing because I was reading the chats and the encouragement of ethnic studies. And I just like to see us when we do get the opportunity to get back on campus. Where I grew up in the Bay Area. I'm from Oakland. And where I grew up, everybody spoke to each other. We spoke to people. And I noticed since I've been here 20-something years, I don't feel that kind of fellowship. And I especially don't feel it at Delta. It's very cliquey. I speak to everybody because that's how I grew up and that's how I was raised. Even homeless people get a what's up from me. But I just like to see us, instead of just writing that we're the Delta family, to be more cordial, more brotherly and sisterly with each other. I notice this, I watch it, and I see people not acknowledge or shy away. And just to make a bigger statement of who we are and how we feel about our fellow human beings, it starts with saying, hello, how are you? And sometimes when I speak to people, lots of students, they look stunned. Like, what's wrong with her? But that's just who I am. And so if and when we start ethnic studies is bigger than what you read and how it's presented. We're all ethnic. And so I just want to encourage us to be more cordial. I'm not saying I want to stop and have a long conversation with you, but I just appreciate seeing that type of camaraderie. Hello, how are you? And just keep it moving. I don't have no real time, but let's just start speaking to each other. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Paula. David?
You're welcome.
Hello, everyone. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm currently a Delta College student, but I'm taking it as a high schooler, and I'm really glad to be a part of this call because I've been able to hear multiple perspectives and really learn about what people are going through. And I just want to say, high schoolers like me, we're also, speaking out on these issues. And I think that you can be any age to really educate yourself on these issues. And I understand that it's really a shame that because of somebody's skin color, namely if you're African American in our society, you can be targeted, you can be killed on the basis of that. And it is just so wrong to think about that. And I really hope that with the movements happening in America right now, we've had over every state in America at this moment has already protested. And I just know that with a change, we can make a big difference. There can be new laws enacted, and I'm positive to see that this momentum we're on in America right now is going to make a real difference. And it starts with these calls like these where everybody can, voice their opinions and show what they're feeling. And I'm just really glad to be a part of this call. So thank you for organizing this.
Thank you, David. Thank you for sharing your perspective. We're so glad to have you here. And as you were speaking and said that you were in high school, I thought about what Professor Moreno said about how it is the next generation. So we're grateful for you to be here. Before we close the sharing circle, I want to give space to anyone else who would like to share. Going to give a moment for that.
Can I share?
Go ahead, Luis.
When I was in elementary and high school, I had friends that were different. So that means African Americans. And they were really nice to me. We would eat at lunch. We would play games. And I missed them. But now I'm in the Gibson Center, Socialization Center. And I'm learning about mental health, mi salud. And next year, wait, I have a question. Is there online classes or campus classes for Delta?
Classes are online right now.
Oh, I don't have a computer.
Luis, luckily, there are a lot of student success coaches on this call who would be, I'm sure, glad to connect you with some resources.
Oh, okay. Is the library open?
So I see in the chat that we've got, let's see, Delta is providing loaner computers and hotspot connections. That is absolutely true, Professor Wade, and we are connecting students to their student success coach so that they can coordinate receiving that equipment. So Luis, if you are still a current student enrolled at Delta College, then yes, we will go ahead and connect with you offline, okay?
I need to register for another semester.
Okay.
And I want to know what times the library are open.
Okay, thank you, Luis. We will go ahead and contact you after this. In fact, I have your information, so I will circle back to you. And Evan is correct. So Evan, thank you for noting that you are also saying that people do not have to come to campus to pick up their computers. Campus can mail computers to students as well. And thank you, Professor McCarty, for putting that link into the chat box. That Still Here For You link will give you that information so that you can request that. Delta College is efforting to do a lot to encourage students to continue with their studies, even despite the current situation. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and move on, and the time now is going to Professor Heather Bradford.
I just wanted to thank everyone, even though we're a little bit over our time. We didn't expect this this forum, a meeting, to go as long as it did, but I'm happy that we've had this time together. And I want to thank all of you for making time to be here today. I hope that this is the start of many more conversations, that the momentum that we're experiencing and feeling, and the vulnerability and the willingness to step forward and have very open conversations. I hope that this will not end today, and that we'll be able to continue moving forward, because I really truly believe that by bringing things to the forefront and talking about them and sharing and being vulnerable and having discussion, that this is what brings healing, and this is what brings change. And in the words of Common, that my husband and I had the privilege to see in concert last year, we love his words from his recent book, Let Love Have the Last Word. And that's what I strongly believe, is that love is the bond that unites us all. And regardless of race, regardless of skin color, that is the message. And with that said, I want to play a song that was by Common and John Legend, which I feel is very appropriate for this time. Of my husband and I were out this morning at the Stockton's, at the Martin Luther King Plaza for the demonstration and the protest that was this morning. This is my first time, actually, I believe, being in Stockton doing something like this. And I was very, very proud of how peaceful and well organized the protesters were. It was beautiful. I actually, in leaving, we were walking to our car, and there was a police officer standing in front of his vehicle, blocking one of the streets, and he was standing outside his vehicle, white police officer, and we looked over at him and kind of waved to him, and he just said himself, he said, you know, I said, I'm very proud of my city of Stockton, and he said, yeah, this has been a great experience. And I know that this is a time of high tensions for everyone, but we have to remember that it's the few amounts of evil that spoil it for the whole. And I don't believe that what we witness is a pervasive attitude of everyone, but I believe that we have a long ways to go, unfortunately, to see justice and to see equality. And I just hope that we will continue having these conversations and that we will all do our part in whatever way we can, in our homes, in our families, in our communities, in our churches, wherever we are, that we're willing to take a stand and be able to have these open conversations and dialogues. And with that said, I just want to play this last, every time I hear the words to the song and every time I see it being played and the images, it just is very strongly emotional for me, and I'm sure it will be for some of you. But I thought it was a good way to end today's session. And thank you again, all of you, for being here. And love goes out to all of you, because let love have the last word.
It will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, glory, oh, glory, glory. Hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against, yes, glory is destined. Everyday women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. One son died, the spirit is revisiting us. True and living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through Ferguson with our hands up. When it go down, we woman and man up. They say stay down, and we stand up. Shots be on the ground, the camera panned up. King pointed to the mountains up, and we ran up. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, glory. Glory, oh, glory. Now the war is not over. Victory is won. I will fight on to the finish. Even when it's all done, we'll cry glory. Oh, glory. Selma's now for every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd. They march with the torch, we gon' run with it now. Never look back, we done gone hundreds of miles. From dark roads, heroes, to become a hero. Facing the league of justice, his power was the people. Enemy is lethal, a king became regal. Saw the face of Jim Crow under a bald ego. No one can win a war individually. It take the wisdom of the elders and young people's energy. Welcome to the story we call victory. The coming of the Lord, my eyes have seen the glory. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, glory.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being a part of this meeting today. We want to let you know that Active Minds meets via Zoom every Wednesday at 1:30 to change the conversation regarding mental health and wellness, to break down barriers, stereotypes, and stigmas. We're incredibly grateful that all of you took time out of your day to join us in this conversation today. specifically designed to pause and to amplify Black voices, to listen and to stand in solidarity. I feel incredibly grateful because we're all hurting, but we're all in this together. And I just have to say personally that I'm incredibly grateful to all of you for being part of this, because as James Forte said, it was Monday that there was an email exchange where he shared how he felt. And I love James. And my heart hurts so much. And I thought, what can we do? Because we feel so powerless. But we're not. I'm grateful for every person who has joined us. If you're watching this on Facebook, thank you for taking time. Please know that San Joaquin Delta College is an important part of the Stockton community. As a Stocktonian, an alumni, and now professor, I believe that we have such an important role to play in our community. And the fact that in less than 24 hours, so many of you as faculty, as staff, as managers contributed, as students showed up today, thank you.
And I